The night was dark. Heavy rain fell from the sky like it was never going to stop. Thunder rolled in the distance and lightning flashed across the trees. The road outside the small village was empty, cold, and wet. Everyone was inside their homes, except for one man. A black car raced down the road. The tires slipped on the wet ground. The driver, a man in his late 30s, looked tired and lost. His name was Daniel Reed. He was a billionaire, rich, powerful, and famous. But tonight, he was alone and in trouble. Daniel's hands shook on the steering wheel. His mind was full of pain. Memories of his missing wife, Elena, came back again and again. She had disappeared years ago. No note, no goodbye, just gone. He never stopped looking for her, but now he felt empty. Suddenly a branch fell on the road. Daniel turned the wheel hard. The car spun out of control. It crashed into a tree with a loud bang. The world went dark for him. In a small wooden house near the forest, two twin sisters sat close to a fire. They were only 10 years old. Their names were Lila and Maya. They were poor. Their parents had died years ago. Now they lived alone in a broken home with no electricity, no phone, and barely enough food. Lila looked out the window. "Did you hear that?" she asked. Maya nodded. It came from the road. Without waiting, the girls grabbed their raincoats and ran outside into the storm. The wind was strong. Rain hit their faces like cold needles. But they didn't stop. They found the car near the big tree. The front was broken. Smoke rose from the engine. Inside, a man lay unconscious. Blood ran down his forehead. His eyes were closed. "He's alive," Maya said after checking his chest. "We can't leave him here." The two girls, though small and thin, pulled the man out of the car. It took all their strength. They dragged him through the mud, over the hill, and into their tiny home. They laid him on their old bed and covered him with a thin blanket. Lila cleaned his wound with water. Maya crushed some herbs their mother had once taught them to use for healing. They worked quietly but fast. They didn't even know his name. Hours passed. The fire burned low. The man was still asleep. The girls sat close watching him. Then Maya whispered, "He looks like someone strong. Maybe he can help us." Lila leaned in and said softly, Maybe he can be our dad." Maya looked shocked, then smiled sadly. "No one ever wants to be our dad." Lila stood up and walked to the small box under the bed. She opened it and took out an old photo. It was their mother, a kind-looking woman with long hair and a soft smile. The photo was worn from being held too many times. They placed the photo near the man's bed. "Maybe if he sees her, he'll want to stay," Maya said. Just then, the man moved. His fingers twitched. His eyes opened slowly. He looked around, confused and scared. He tried to sit up but groaned in pain. "Don't move," Lila said gently. "You had an accident. We found you." "Where am I?" Daniel's voice was weak. "Our home," Maya said. Daniel looked at the small room, the broken furniture, and the fire. Then he saw the photo next to him. His heart stopped. He picked it up with shaking hands. This is her," he whispered. "Elena." The girls looked at each other. "That's our mother," Maya said. "She died when we were 5. Daniel stared at the photo. It was his wife, the same eyes, the same smile. The woman who disappeared years ago. His voice broke. "Where did you get this picture?" "She's our mom," Lila answered. "We don't have many photos, only this one." Daniel couldn't speak. His heart pounded in his chest. Could it be true? Could these girls be? He closed his eyes, feeling dizzy again. He laid back down, gripping the photo tightly. Outside, the storm still roared. But inside, something had changed. The girls watched the man closely. Lila whispered, "I think he knows her." Maya nodded. He didn't say no. They didn't know who he really was, and he didn't know who they really were, but something connected them, and none of their lives would ever be the same again. Morning came slowly. The storm had passed. but dark clouds still hung in the sky. Rainwater dripped from the roof of the small wooden house. Birds chirped quietly outside. Inside, everything was silent, except for the soft breathing of the man in the bed. Daniel Reed opened his eyes again. His head hurt, but he remembered. Everything. The accident, the little girls, the photo. He touched his forehead and felt the bandage. He sat up slowly and looked around. The house was small and old. The wooden walls had cracks. The window was covered with a plastic sheet. There was no TV, no fridge, not even a light bulb. The photo lay beside him. The photo of Elena, his missing wife. Daniel picked it up again. He couldn't take his eyes off her face. It was not just someone who looked like her. It was her. But how? These girls said she was their mother. That couldn't be true. Could it? He heard voices outside the room. 2 soft voices. Girls. The doctor creaked open and Lila and Maya stepped in. They held a bowl of warm porridge and a piece of dry bread. "You're awake," Maya said, smiling. "We made you breakfast," said Lila, holding the bowl. Daniel gave a weak smile. "Thank you. What are your names?" "I'm Lila," said the taller girl. "I'm Maya," said the one with curly hair. "You were hurt, so we brought you here." "I remember," Daniel said quietly. "Thank you for saving me." Lila sat beside him. "What's your name?" Daniel paused for a second. He didn't want to say too much. "Daniel, just Daniel." The girls smiled again. Maya pushed the bowl toward him. "Eat. You need to get strong." Daniel took the spoon slowly. He hadn't eaten since yesterday. The porridge was plain but warm. Still, his eyes kept going back to the photo lying on the table. He finally asked, "That picture. Where did you get it?" Lila answered. "It's our mother. She died when we were little, in a house fire." Daniel's hand froze. "A house fire?" He forced himself to speak calmly. "What was her name?" "Elena," said Maya. His chest tightened. It was her, same name, same face, same eyes. But how could she be their mother? He looked at the girls again. They had dark hair like Elena. Maya's smile looked just like hers. Even their laugh was the same. He was still too shocked to say anything, so he stayed quiet. The girls didn't know he was a billionaire. They didn't know his real name. All they saw was a stranger who needed help. Later that day, the girls showed him around the house. The kitchen was just a stove and a few pots. Their beds were made of old blankets on the floor. A small shelf held a few books and some toys. "We live alone now," Lila said. "Our uncle left last year. He never came back." "No one knows we're here," Maya added. "If people find out, they'll take us away." Daniel looked at them with soft eyes. These girls had survived alone. No parents, no help, and yet they were smiling, kind, and brave. That night, the wind picked up again. Rain began to fall. Daniel sat near the fire while the girls lit candles. They made him a small bed on the floor, but he insisted they take it. He rested on the chair instead. As the fire crackled, he heard the girls whispering. "Do you think he'll stay?" Maya asked. "I hope so," said Lila. "He's nice. He feels safe. Maybe he could pretend to be our dad." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He closed his eyes and listened. Lila continued. "If we say he's our dad, maybe people will stop asking questions. Maybe they won't take us away." "But he won't do it," Maya whispered sadly. "Nobody ever wants us." Daniel felt his throat tighten. They were just little girls, but they carried so much pain. He couldn't sleep that night. His mind kept running. What if they were telling the truth? What if Elena had survived and had these girls? And if that's true, then these 2 girls, Lila and Maya, might be his daughters. The next morning, Daniel asked for a piece of their hair. Lila looked confused. "Why do you need it?" "I just need to check something," he said gently. "It's important." The girls trusted him. They gave him a strand each. He wrapped it in tissue and put it in his wallet. He planned to take it for a DNA test as soon as he could reach the city. He had come here as a broken man, lost in pain. But now, something was waking inside him. It was a quiet afternoon. The rain had stopped, but the ground was still wet. A soft wind passed through the trees outside the old house. Inside, Daniel sat near the window, holding a cup of tea the girls had made. Lila and Maya were outside, picking wild berries for dinner. Their laughter echoed faintly in the air. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about what he had heard the night before. Maybe he can pretend to be our dad. The words played again and again in his mind, but he wasn't pretending anymore. Not in his heart. Somewhere deep inside, he felt a connection with the girls. Their voices, their eyes, even their small habits, so much like Elena. And then there was that photo. He kept it in his pocket now. He had looked at it 100 times already. Every time it hurt and healed him at the same time. He looked around. The room again. It was full of small details. A broken clock, handmade dolls, books with worn-out covers. There were signs of a woman's touch. He knew them well. He had seen those same details in the house he once shared with Elena. Then he noticed something. A wooden ladder in the corner of the room. It led up to a small square hole in the ceiling. The attic. Curiosity pulled at him. Maybe there were answers up there. Letters, clothes, something Elena had left behind. He waited until the girls were far from the house, then stood up slowly. His leg still hurt from the crash, but he climbed the ladder carefully. The attic was dusty and dark. Only a thin beam of light came through a small crack in the roof. Spider webs hung in the corners. Old boxes and trunks sat in silence. Daniel pulled one of the boxes toward him and opened it. Inside were clothes, women's clothes, folded neatly. On top, he saw a red scarf. He remembered it. Elena used to wear it on cold mornings. He picked it up and held it close. The scent was almost gone, but a tiny part of it remained. A trace. Perfume. His eyes filled with tears. He opened another box. This one had letters, dozens of them. Some were addressed to my girls. Others had no name. But one envelope caught his eye. It was old and yellow, but the writing was clear. To Dr. His hand shook as he opened it. Daniel, if you are reading this, then somehow you found me. Or maybe our daughters found you. I never meant to leave without telling you, but I had to disappear. I had no choice. Someone was watching us, someone dangerous. I had to protect the twins. I knew you wouldn't stop looking for me, but I hoped one day we'd meet again. This time safely. Please forgive me. Take care of them if you can. They deserve a better life. I will always love you. Elena. Daniel sat frozen for a long time. He had searched the world for answers, and now they were here, in this attic, in this letter, in those two girls outside. He pressed the letter to his chest. His eyes burned with tears. Elena had never left him by choice. She had been scared. She had hidden their children to protect them. The truth was finally clear. Lila and Maya were not just kind little girls. They were his daughters. He climbed down slowly, carefully folding the letter and placing it inside his coat pocket. His heart was full of both joy and sorrow. Joy for finding his children. Sorrow for losing so many years with them. When the girls returned, he looked at them differently. He didn't say anything yet. He just smiled. A deep, warm smile. You're feeling better today, Maya said happily. Yes, Daniel replied. Much better. They all sat together that evening near the fire. Lila shared the berries they had picked. Maya gave him half of her bread. He accepted it with quiet gratitude. He watched them eat and laugh, completely unaware that their lives were about to change forever. He wanted to tell them the truth, but he needed the DNA test first. He wanted proof. Real proof. Then he would tell them everything. That night, Daniel placed the photo of Elena near his bed. He kissed it softly and whispered, I found them, Elena. I found our girls. But just as Daniel started to feel peace, something happened that disturbed him. In the middle of the night, he heard a noise outside, a rustling, footsteps. He stood and peeked through the small window. A shadow moved near the trees. A figure stood watching the house. Then, the shadow walked away into the dark. Daniel stared, his heart racing. Who was that? And more importantly, the next morning was cold and quiet. Daniel didn't sleep much. He kept thinking about the shadow he saw in the night. The figure stood for almost a minute just watching the house before disappearing into the trees. Was it a thief, a stranger, or someone who knew who he really was? He didn't want to worry the girls, so he said nothing. But inside, he felt a strange pressure in his chest. Something was not right. Lila and Maya were cheerful as always. They ran outside to collect firewood while Daniel sat inside, holding the old letter from Elena again. Every word in that letter now felt heavier. Someone was watching us. Someone dangerous. Was that person still watching? Did they find this place again? He folded the letter carefully and slid it back into his coat. When the girls returned, he helped them fix a hole in the roof. They laughed as he tried to hammer a nail and missed. For a moment, everything felt normal, like a real family, like a dream he once lost and just now found again. But his mind was somewhere else. He needed answers, and he needed to protect them. That afternoon, Daniel walked into the nearest village about a mile away. His legs still ached from the accident, but he didn't stop. He asked for the local postman and handed him a sealed envelope. Inside was the hair sample and a letter to his private contact in the city, a scientist friend who could run a DNA test. Daniel added a note. "This is urgent. I need results fast." He returned to the house before dark, but when he got there, something made his heart stop. The door was open. The girls were standing outside, their faces pale. "Maya, what happened?" he asked, rushing forward. "A man came here," Maya said. "He said he was our uncle. He looked angry." Lila added, "He said this is his house. He told us to leave or he'll call the police." Daniel clenched his jaw. "What else did he say?" "That we don't belong here," Maya whispered. "That we're not his problem anymore." Daniel's eyes turned cold. He understood now. This uncle wasn't family. He was the man Elena ran from. Maybe he knew the truth. Maybe he was watching them last night. Daniel gently placed his hands on the girl's shoulders. "You're not going anywhere," he said. "Not without me." That night, Daniel stayed awake, sitting near the door with a piece of wood in his hand like a bat. He kept the fire burning. His ears listened for every noise outside, but the night passed quietly. In the morning, he had a plan. He needed to buy time and create a legal reason to protect the girls. He knew just what to do. 2 days later, Daniel, dressed in an old coat, and walked to the city. It took nearly half the day. When he got there, he used a payphone at a train station to call his lawyer. "Don't use my name," Daniel said. "But I want to file temporary guardianship papers." "For who?" the lawyer asked. "2 twin girls, orphans. I want to be their legal guardian, for now." The lawyer hesitated. "Daniel, this is serious. If the state finds out, they might take them first." "That's why I need it fast," Daniel replied. "Don't ask more, just do it." Then he called his scientist friend. "The samples came back," the voice said on the other end. "Daniel, the girls are a 99.9% match. They're your daughters." Daniel closed his eyes. His heart slowed down, his hands stopped shaking. He whispered, "Thank you." He returned home after sunset. Lila and Maya ran to him with smiles. "Where did you go?" Maya asked. "I went to make something right," he said, smiling back. "What do you mean?" Lila asked. Daniel knelt in front of them. "I have something to ask you," he said. The girls looked at each other, confused. "If I became your real dad, would that be okay?" Their eyes widened. "What?" "I mean it," Daniel said softly. "Not pretend, real. I want to protect you. I want to take care of you. I want to be your family." Maya's lips trembled. Lila covered her mouth. "No. One's ever said that before?" Lila whispered. Daniel opened his arms. "Then let me be the first." The girls rushed into his hug. Tears rolled down their cheeks. And Daniel felt whole for the first time in years. But even in that warm moment, he knew their story wasn't safe yet, because the man who came to the door wasn't finished. He wanted something, and he would come back. The days that followed were quiet, but Daniel couldn't relax. Lila and Maya were happy now. They called him Dad with shy smiles. Every evening they all sat together by the fire. The girls told him stories about their mother. Daniel listened carefully, storing every word in his heart. He had missed years of their lives, but he was here now, and he wasn't going anywhere. Still, the memory of the strange man haunted him, the man who claimed to be their uncle, the one who threatened to take the girls. Daniel knew he would return, and when he did, it wouldn't be with words. 3 days later, Daniel went out early to collect water from the stream. As he bent down to fill the bucket, he heard a voice behind him. Well, look who's still here." Daniel froze. He turned slowly and saw him, a tall man with a deep scar across his cheek, dirty clothes, cold, angry eyes. "I told those girls to leave," the man said. "Now you're here, playing house? Who are you really?" Daniel stood, straight, his voice calm but strong. "Who are you to threaten children?" The man stepped closer. "They're not yours." Daniel didn't blink. "They are now." A small laugh came from the man's mouth. "Is that so? Well, you'll be gone soon. I've already spoken to someone in the village, a social worker. They'll come take the girls next week." Daniel's jaw tightened. The man leaned in. "Unless you want to make a deal?" Daniel didn't respond. The man continued. "I know who you are, Daniel Reed, billionaire, lost your wife. You think I don't recognize your face from the news?" Daniel's blood ran cold. The man smirked. "I know Elena, too. She was with me after she disappeared. She came to me for help. But she left without saying goodbye, and took those brats with her." Daniel clenched his fists. "She never told you why she ran, did she?" the man whispered. "Because she found out something. Something about you." Daniel stepped forward, his eyes burning. "You're lying." "Maybe," the man said with a shrug. "But lies and truth don't matter when I have power." Daniel held back his rage. "What do you want?" The man smiled slowly. "Money, 5 million, in cash. Or I go to the press. I tell them you kidnapped 2 girls, claimed they're your daughters, and tried to hide them here." Daniel's heart pounded. It wasn't just a threat. It was a trap. Even if the DNA proved the truth, the media could twist the story. The government could act fast, faster than the law. He had to think smart. The man gave him a small paper with a phone number. "You have 3 days. Call me or say goodbye to your happy little life." Then he walked off into the trees and vanished. That night, Daniel sat by the fire. His mind was racing. Lila was brushing Maya's hair. They were giggling, like everything was fine. But inside, Daniel's chest felt heavy. He had the money, but giving it meant feeding a criminal. And if he paid now, would it stop there? What if the man came back again, asking for more? He looked at the photo of Elena beside the fire. She had run to protect her girls. Now, it was his turn. The next morning, Daniel made a phone call to someone from his past. The man on the other end answered after one ring. "Daniel?" "Yes," Daniel replied. "I need a favor, a big one." "Are you in danger?" "Yes, but it's not just me, it's about my daughters." There was a pause. "Tell me everything." Later. That day, Daniel returned to the girls. He smiled, but it was tired. Maya asked, "Dad, are you okay?" He knelt down and hugged both of them. "I'm fine, but I need you two to trust me." Lila looked worried. "What's wrong?" Daniel gently said, "We might have to leave this place. For a while." Maya's voice cracked. "Are we in trouble?" "No," Daniel said, holding her hand. "But someone dangerous is nearby, and I will not let him hurt you. Ever." The girls hugged him tightly. Daniel whispered, "We are a family, and no one will break us apart, I promise." The next day, a black SUV arrived quietly near the village. A man in a sharp suit stepped out. He wore dark sunglasses and had a small earpiece. He knocked on the door. Daniel opened it and nodded. "Glad you came," the man replied. "Let's finish this." The black SUV sat hidden under the trees, far from the village road. Inside the small wooden house, Daniel explained the plan to the man in the suit. Mr. Graves, his old private security head from years ago. "He's smart," Daniel said, "and he knows who I am, but he made a mistake. He gave me time." Mr. Graves nodded. "We'll use that time well. I brought a small team, all ex-military. They'll watch the area from a distance." "And the girls?" Daniel asked. "They'll be safe," Mr. Graves said firmly. "But you need to act like everything is normal until he shows up again." Daniel looked out the window. Maya and Lila were sitting on the porch, drawing pictures in the dirt with a stick. They still didn't know the full danger, and Daniel wanted to keep it that way. He took a deep breath. This wasn't just about protecting them anymore. It was about ending the threat. That night, Daniel sat by the fire with the girls. Lila drew a picture of 3 people holding hands, a tall man and 2 small girls. "It's us," she smiled. Maya added, "We're a real family now." Daniel smiled too, but behind his eyes was a storm. He kissed both their heads and tucked them into bed. Then he stepped outside into the cold night. The forest was silent, but hidden in the trees, Mr. Graves and his men were watching, waiting. The next morning, Daniel made the call. He dialed the number the man had given him. It rang twice. Then, the voice came. "You finally called. I have your money," Daniel said. "5 million, but I want this done quietly, no more threats." There was a long pause. Then the man replied, "Meet me at the old logging camp, 1 mile east, tonight. Come alone." "No police." The line went dead. Daniel stared at the phone. Mr. Graves, listening nearby, stepped forward. "We'll be close. Just give the signal when it's time." Daniel nodded. It was time to end this. That night, Daniel left the house after dinner. He hugged the girls tightly. "If I'm not back by morning," he whispered, "listen to Mr. Graves. He'll protect you." Lila looked scared. "Are you in danger, Dad?" Daniel forced a smile. "Just doing something brave. For us." Then he walked into the darkness. The old logging camp was quiet. Broken wood cabins stood like ghosts. Rusted tools lay scattered on the ground. The moonlight made everything look colder. Daniel stood in the center, holding a small suitcase. Then, a sound. A figure stepped out from behind a tree. It was him, the scarred man. He smiled slowly. "You actually came." Daniel said nothing. He placed the suitcase on the ground. "Open it," the man demanded. Daniel did. Stacks of cash. Real. Clean. "Good," the man said, stepping closer. "Very good." Then Daniel spoke. "You said Elena left because she found something out. What did you mean?" The man paused. "Ah, that part." He chuckled. "She found out someone inside your company was using her name to hide dirty money, offshore accounts, fake charities. She thought it was you." Daniel's eyes widened. "No, I never." "Of course not," the man said, "but she didn't know that. And when she got too close, your enemies came after her. That's why she ran. She never stopped loving you. She just didn't know who to trust." Daniel's heart sank. All those years, Elena had suffered, hiding, protecting the girls. Because of someone else's crime. "Why didn't you help her?" Daniel asked. The man's smile faded. "I tried," he muttered. "But when she left me too, I lost everything. I had nothing left, and now you have everything. I want what I deserve." He reached for the suitcase. Click, a red dot appeared on his chest. Then 2 more. Voices echoed from the trees. "Don't move!" Mr. Graves and his team stepped into the clearing, armed and ready. The man froze, his eyes wide with rage and fear. "You set me up," he hissed. "No," Daniel said coldly. "You set yourself up the moment you threatened my daughters." The man tried to run, but Graves's team tackled him to the ground in seconds. They cuffed him, searched him, and found a gun hidden in his belt. "It's over," Mr. Graves said. Daniel stared down at the man, breathing hard. You never knew what love was. You only knew control. The man shouted, "This isn't over. You'll regret this." But his voice faded as they dragged him away into the night. Later, Daniel returned home. The girls ran to him, hugging him tightly. "You're okay," Maya cried. Lila looked into his eyes. "Is it over?" Daniel picked them both up and whispered, "Yes, it's over. No one will hurt us again." That night, the house was filled with peace for the first time in years. Daniel slept deeply, and so did his daughters. The sun rose slowly over the village. Golden light touched the wooden house where 3 hearts now beat as one. Inside, Daniel stirred from the deepest sleep he'd had in years. The air was peaceful. The danger was gone, and for the first time in a long time, he felt safe. He turned his head. Maya and Lila had fallen asleep on the rug near the fire, curled up together like kittens. Their drawings from the night before were still scattered around them. One of them showed 3 smiling stick figures under a heart. Dad, Lila, Maya. Daniel smiled gently. He had lost his wife. He had almost lost himself. But these 2 girls gave him something back, hope. Later that morning, Mr. Graves returned with good news. "The man is in custody," he said. "Police took him. Your name is clean. And guess what?" Daniel raised his eyebrows. "The real story came out," Graves continued. "One of your old employees was arrested too. He was the one using Elena's identity to launder money. It's all over the news now. You're no longer a suspect in anything." Daniel's hands slowly lowered. His shoulders relaxed for the first time in years. Elena had been right to run. And now the truth had finally caught up with the lies. The next day, Daniel took the girls to the city. They had never seen tall buildings before. They pressed their faces against the SUV windows in awe. "Look at the lights," Maya gasped. "It's like magic." Daniel chuckled. "Wait until you see your new home." But first, there was one last thing to do. At the courthouse, Daniel stood before the judge with Maya and Lila by his side. The room was silent, but the moment was loud in his heart. The judge looked down at the papers. "Mr. Reed, you've applied for full legal guardianship of these 2 girls. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor." "You are aware that this comes with full responsibility, emotionally, financially, and legally?" "I understand," Daniel replied firmly. "And I accept. They are my daughters. I will protect them with my life." The judge smiled gently. "DNA tests confirm they are biologically yours. More importantly, they clearly trust you. I see no reason to deny this request." She stamped the papers. "Congratulations, Mr. Reed. You're officially their father." Maya and Lila looked up at Daniel. "Does this mean we're really a family now?" Lila asked softly. Daniel knelt, his eyes full of emotion. "We always were." The girls hugged him tightly, tears slipping. Down their cheeks, so did his. A few days later, the car pulled up in front of a large, beautiful house on the edge of a hill. It wasn't a cold mansion. It was warm, full of windows and gardens and laughter. The front door opened. 2 kind housekeepers and a golden retriever puppy ran out to greet them. "This is where we live now?" Maya asked, eyes wide. "If you want to," Daniel said. "But it's huge," Lila giggled. "We had 1 room before. Now you have your own rooms," Daniel smiled, "and a library, and a treehouse in the back." The girls screamed with joy and ran inside, spinning and laughing and exploring every corner. Daniel stood in the doorway, watching them, his heart full. That evening, he took them to a quiet room. On the wall was a large photo. Elena, smiling softly, standing in a garden long ago. The girls froze. "Mama," Maya whispered. Daniel nodded. This was her favorite picture. Lila stepped forward and touched the frame. "She would be so happy right now." Daniel's voice was thick. "She loved you more than anything. She gave up everything to keep you safe, and I will never stop honoring that." They stood in silence for a moment, then hugged again. In that moment, the pain didn't disappear, but it softened. Weeks passed. Lila joined a music class. She learned to play piano and sang songs about sunshine and dreams. Maya joined a science club. She asked 100 questions a day and built tiny robots with toothpicks and wires. And Daniel? He laughed again. He cooked breakfast. He drove them to school. He helped with homework. He tucked them in at night. He wasn't just a billionaire anymore. He was a father. One night, as they sat on the balcony watching stars, Maya leaned against him. "Dad," she said, "do you think Mama can see us?" Daniel looked up at the stars. "I think," he said slowly, "she never stopped watching." Lila smiled. "Then she must be proud." Daniel nodded. "I know she is." They sat quietly, wrapped in a warm blanket under the sky, not as strangers, not as survivors, but as a family finally reunited.